Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I am Agi Keramidas and my mission is to inspire you to rise up, grow, stand out and take action towards the next level of your life. I am interviewing leaders, influencers, entrepreneurs, authors, exceptional people who can and will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week, every Monday and Thursday. In today's show, I am excited to speak with James Dunt. James, you are the UK's leading empowerment songwriter, writing music specifically for personal development to help people to unleash their inner power. You have 2 decades experience working with thousands of people as a university lecturer, and you are also an international speaker, a coach, and an author. Your mission is to use transformational music within experiential training courses so that personal development enthusiasts become empowered to achieve more and have a positive impact in the world. James, welcome to Personal Development Mastery. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Aggie. I'm really looking forward to it as well. It's an absolute honour.
Shall we start with, it's a very fascinating topic, music, and we'll go into that in detail. Before I do that, I want to start with your story because there has been a big transformation in what you were doing. So can you expand on this defining moment, this milestone where you transitioned? What was going on before? What happened?
Absolutely, yes, I will do. I mean, music has always been part of my joy, part of my life. And many years ago, I was in a band. So this was around 2005 time. I was actually in a band. And at that point, I suppose you could say I was living the dream. But then like a lot of good things, we broke up. And at that point, I think I actually said, the dream is over. So I had in my mindset the normal job, I was thinking at that time of getting a house, family, all of those normal things. And throughout the years, I just found that I was getting more and more unfulfilled. And I remember sitting in my office. I was in a manager's position at a college. And I remember sitting in my office and on paper, I was looking like a reasonable success story. I've got a manager position, I've got a wife, I've got a young daughter. And on paper, it was looking all right, but in my mind, I wasn't happy. My wife and I were struggling a little bit. Our relationship was struggling. She was going through about a depression. So I was getting all those negative emotions, shame, guilt, embarrassment. And I just felt stuck. And I wasn't quite sure where to turn. And I thought maybe I'll get back into the fitness industry because I've got a background in the fitness industry. So I went on a course, which was a holistic lifestyle coaching course. And on day 1 of that course, I remember opening up the course manual and I came across a question that changed my life. And the question was, if you were to die today, would you die knowing that you have lived your life fully? And for me, that was a big no. And actually, at the end of that day, I spoke to the instructor of that course and I was saying, I really like all the lifestyle coaching, but my other real passion is music, in particular, the creation of it, the songwriting. And through speaking to her, she said, you've got to be doing that in some capacity. And around that time, I was getting into personal development. And I realized that it had been my own mindset that had been holding me back. That's why I was feeling stuck. I was suffering from low self-esteem. I was lacking the courage to go out and follow my heart and do what I really wanted to do. And through the conversation with her, it's like a little light bulb went off. And I just sort of opened up my eyes a little bit. And I said, right, this is what I want to do. I want to step down from my manager's position. I want to reduce my hours at work and I want to go out and pursue songwriting. So that's the start of that story and the start of that transition.
So was that a sudden decision? So you took that decision during that event? Was it that powerful?
It actually was, Aggie, yeah. And I'm someone, what you have to understand is I'm someone that actually, and I'm still really working on this now, I don't like making decisions. You know, I value and I still value security, safety, you know, being sensible. I've often been told I'm sensible, making, you know, sensible decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it really was something I'd obviously experienced maybe enough pain and also just got a, you know, enough understanding of personal development at that time for me to say, yes, this is what I've got to do. Because my biggest fear is actually being on my deathbed with regrets. You know, so if I'm sort of there at the end of my life and I think, do you know what, I haven't been true to myself, you know, I've got certain gifts, as we all have, and if I'm sort of thinking, well, I haven't actually been using my gifts, then, you know, really I sort of see it, and I know we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves that way, but I sort of see it as a bit of a wasted life, if you like, you know, so I really care about that side of things. So I really made that decision. And the interesting thing was, Aggie, to give you a little bit more information.
Sure.
So it was during that course. Yeah, that course was probably about 4 days, something like that. So I had, you know, a bit of time in the hotel room to think about things. And by the end of that, I had made that decision, and I came home and I spoke to my wife. And at that time, like I say, we were just struggling a little bit. You know, I think with the fact that for many years it had just been the two of us, and then, you know, we had birth of our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you focus on your son or daughter, you forget to actually focus on each other. You forget to focus on your partner so much as
Yes.
well.
Mm-hmm.
And we were finding, you know, she was going through a transition period with jobs and she was a bit unhappy, and we just weren't communicating properly. And the interesting thing is that I went home and I basically said, you know, this is how I feel, this is what I want to do. And the interesting thing was she's very, again, security conscious and, you know, quite worried about certain things like money. But it's amazing how that actually brought us closer, because it opened up channels of communication. And then she's told me certain bits about how she was feeling. And that was actually one of those things that just helped us set us back on the path of actually, you know, working together again a little bit more effectively as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it really was, you know, one of those key defining moments in my life.
I think when you start pursuing your true calling of your soul, if you want, then there is a different kind of energy, enthusiasm. Different things happen. You are perceived by other people in a different way because you are who you truly are, and you have a different energy level, and people can sense that, especially your other half can, but it's great to hear this good change in the story. Tell me, James, so once you took that decision, which would mean that you would leave your safety and security behind, what were the next steps? How did you progress with your evolvement?
Well, of course, Aggie, it was just like a fairy tale, and we all lived happily ever after. No, it certainly wasn't like that. And this is the thing. So I'd made the decision that I knew I wanted to step down from that manager's position. And I think that was important for me, because that role had been good for me in terms of my development. And I was leading a bit of a team and managing people. That had been good for me. But I needed to make that break away from that role. I needed to kind of, you know, create a break away from that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was very aware of, I'm just going to try and start something. I've got no guarantee of income coming in or anything like that. And I was looking to go through the main music industry. So for me, it was working out, okay, well, how many days do I still need to work to bring a bit of money in, but allow me some time to pursue songwriting? And that's what I did. I cut down. So I went to 2 days a week working at the college, just as a lecturer, not as the manager, just as a lecturer. And then the rest of the time I pursued songwriting, but I didn't really know what I was doing. My plan, and I wasn't naive enough just to think that, you know, I'd write a #1 hit in a week and, you know, I'd be living off the royalties for the rest of my life. I wasn't as naive to think that. But the plan was to try and go through the main music industry as a
Mm-hmm.
songwriter and write songs for, you know, established artists. Ideally, that would be what I'd really like to do. But throughout the journey, throughout those times, I started to be maybe pulled away from that main music industry. There were certain aspects of the industry I didn't like, the way sometimes the industry treats its artists. And I started to become more and more pulled towards writing songs that really meant something to me. And because I was going through this process and still am of personal development, personal discovery, becoming aware of myself, what I found was I started to write a couple of songs where I was literally pouring out my heart and soul. And unlike just writing a song like, maybe a love song or about something else, these songs really meant something to me. I found it easier to write the lyrics. So I thought, I really enjoy writing this. I wonder if I could sort of specialize in this area. Mm-hmm. And it was actually another course where I remember chatting to one of the assistants on that course. And again, I was saying, right, I'd like to pursue songwriting, but I'm not quite sure of the area and direction I want to go in. And through chatting with her, she said, well, you know what? The thing about number one hits is it a bit of an ego thing? Whereas if you're writing from what I call an empowerment theme now, empowerment songwriter, is that really more your heart and soul? So once again, it was that person just saying that thing to me that made me sort of think, yeah, in actual fact, okay, I don't have to go through the main music industry. I can create my own business. Not to say that will be easy, but I can create my own business where I'm writing music how I want to write. And then if I can find that my music impacts people, because that was the other key thing for me. I don't just want to be a songwriter and get paid to do that. I actually want to know that my music is positively impacting people. And the best way that I can think it can positively impact people is to do for them what it and personal development has done for me, which is inspire me, empower me, give me courage, boost my self-esteem, boost my confidence. So I thought, right, there's got to be people out there who are interested in this music. So I started on my journey to become an empowerment songwriter.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. And, you said about the ego being a factor in having a number one hit, and that goes completely in contradiction with the impact, because you can have a number one hit, or you can have, in the case of, for example, influencers in social media, millions of followers and not really impact them. But you can have less people and make a serious impact in their lives. And that's really not measurable by any statistic or chart or any amount of money you get or anything. So that's fantastic. And we will discuss about the music in a moment. There's only one other thing I wanted to ask, because you have been on a journey of personal development, which I can relate personally because I'm on my own. Out of all, I bet you've done many courses, you've read books, and so on and so forth. Can you pick one course or otherwise that was really the most impactful in your growth as a person?
I can, yes. I will go for this. I did some courses with T. Harv Eker, and I did the Quantum Leap package, which was a package of courses, and certainly a couple out of there, I would say, really helped me along my journey. One of those was the Enlightened Warrior Training Camp. So I went out to Malaysia, and once again, for me to pay thousands of pounds to do these courses and to go off to Malaysia myself, once upon a time that would have been never heard of. And I actually remember phoning up my mum, and bearing in mind I've just turned 40 as well, so this is when I'm in my 30s, but I remember phoning up my mum and saying, oh yeah, so I'm doing this and I'm on my way to Malaysia, and she said, Malaysia? You spent all that money going to Malaysia, you're mad, and that was the kind of response that I thought I might have, and that was the response that my own mind was making, but I had to sort of do it. So that in itself, the fact that I went out to Malaysia, was a good stepping stone for me. And I thought, yes, I am that person that's now committed, I'm making a commitment, I'm traveling all those miles, spending all that money to do this. And that particular course was brilliant because it was a wonderful balance between the yin and yang, if you like, where we're pushing ourselves, we're doing some practical tasks, some physical tasks, we're pushing ourselves to our limits, Also the sort of mental tasks, anything like that, the various tasks, there's various activities that we did, but then it's also the other side of things as well, which is the love side of things. So on that course, I experienced fears in different forms, but I also, and in fact, this also involved music. There was quite a bit of music in that course. I felt love and connection probably more than I've ever felt before within that course. It was a certain dance with a certain song, and we were doing movements, and we were just working around the room with other people, and it was absolutely incredible. So yeah, really, really great.
Sounds transformational. Yes, indeed. Um, Tell me, because I'm sure you see, and you also hinted about it, that spending all this kind of money and doing something like this to go on a course seemed, in many people's, absurd. And I suppose that you've had people trying to keep you to where you were, the so-called naysayers, dream stealers, all these kinds of negative influence, I would say. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, great question. I certainly have done. And this is one of the things I remember when I first started getting into personal development and reading a book or listening to something or watching something on YouTube. And I remember whoever it was saying about dream stealers and naysayers, and you will get these people in your life. And I looked around at my family and friends, and I thought, no, I can't see people being like that. How wrong was I? Absolutely. So I've got, friends, family members, absolutely, who have been a lot more critical of my decisions.
Yes.
And they've let that be known as well. And it has been tough. And we've had some awkward conversations. But for me, the important thing is this: if you don't let it stop you, if you don't let those stop you, you become unstoppable. By definition, if you don't let all those challenges stop you, you become unstoppable. So that's been a big part for me. I can fall, I can feel really bad in a negative mindset for a while, but if I get back up and carry on, then that has been important. And the thing is, sometimes I have invited those conversations because, once again, through my experience with myself and my wife, I know the importance of communicating and being vulnerable and being open and being honest. So there's been times where I've invited those conversations, and I've actually had one of them during lockdown as well. I scheduled a Zoom call with a couple of people just to chat things through and be vulnerable and say, well, this is how I feel, let's hear how you feel, but this is me, this is who I am, and I've got to go and do this. So yeah, that's really important, I think.
Thank you for your answer, and for this is a very honest answer, and the courage it took you to do things like a call like that means a lot, because you can at that time you open yourself up, all your vulnerability, and you can have some really negative, if people really put onto you their own, project onto you their own fears, their own limitations, all those things. Even if you at a conscious level you repel all those things, some of them still can go in, and when you have conversations like that, even if they're small, they start to pile up little by little, and then the voice becomes louder. So it's great that you managed to face that and go through to the other side winning. Let's talk about music, James, because I really want to find out about this, and we will come back to some other things I want to discuss with you. But I think music is so important. I have also, and most people, I think it's the one form of art that most people have the most relationship with compared to other forms of art. It's the most popular, if you want. So, can you tell me how music can be used to transform your mindset, which is what you do now? I'm just going to straight to the point of what it is that you do. How
Absolutely.
can it be done?
Well, there's so many things that music can do. If you think of, let's do a quick formula, just so we
Okay.
start from the basics. If you want certain results in your life, be it new relationships, be it financial results, whatever it is, you want certain results in your life, you've got to take actions to get those results. Even if you're using law of attraction and attracting things to you, you've still got to go through the doors that become open to you. Okay. But if you want to take actions, often we don't take actions if we don't feel like it, or if we're feeling nervous, we're feeling anxious, we're feeling all those fears, we won't take the actions to get the results. Those feelings are often based upon our thoughts that we have. So if we're thinking negatively, we have negative thoughts, I don't know if I'm good enough, then that will create feelings, which means we don't take the actions and don't get the results. And often those thoughts are based upon our beliefs that we've established early on in our life in the first few years, where we work out who we are, supposedly. These are all not necessarily truths, but we've worked out who we are and what the world is like and how we fit in it. So that's a basic equation: beliefs onto thoughts, onto feelings, onto actions, onto results. Now, music can influence different aspects of that. So, for example, let's go for thoughts to begin with. Now, you might be having a bad day, and then you could quite simply put on something like Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World. You listen to the lyrics and you think, in actual fact, yeah, to be honest, there is a lot of beauty out there, and you've just changed your thoughts just like that. And that's a silly little example. And please note, music is a tool. Like any other tool, it's not all you need. It won't just, you listen to one song and it will transform your life. And I'm not saying that, but it can be used as a tool to change certain things. So we can use positive lyrics to change our thoughts. And that's something that I actually do. So if you've ever read a motivational quote, or you've listened to a motivational video on YouTube or something like that, you're listening to the words and they are changing your thoughts in your head. And that's what music can do. But music can also really affect our feelings. So the thoughts maybe could be a little bit more to do with the lyrics at times, whereas the actual melody can be more influencing the feelings. So certain songs feel happy. You might like certain types of music which will change your state. And someone like Tony Robbins has always gone on about changing your state. And music can be one of the quickest ways to actually change your state. Now, let me just give you an example. If you were to watch a horror movie, it's quite scary. So you might find that is changing your state. You're a bit anxious, you're a bit worried. But if you were to mute the sound on that horror movie and take the music out and the sound effects out, it's not actually half as scary. So it was the music and the sound effects that were creating that change in feelings or emotions. So we can use that to good effect through music. And the other good thing about music, and obviously I could go on, Aggie, I won't keep going on, but the other good thing about music as well is if we get the right song, it gets in your head. So it's actually known as an earworm. I actually found that term out recently. It's this melody that goes into your head and wriggles around like a worm, and you can't get it out of your head. So I know, for example, if I go to Euro Disney and I go on It's a Small World ride a couple of times with my daughter, I'll be singing that a week later. It's lodged there in your head. So imagine if you've got certain songs with certain positive lyrics, for example, that are going round in that head, round and round again, reinforcing that positivity. So there's, again, I can speak more, but there's some examples to be getting on with.
What you said about the earworm, funnily enough, some Christmas songs came to mind. I'm not going to name them, but they even started appearing as well as you were telling me about the earworm. So it really goes deep into the subconscious. And you mentioned Tony Robbins and his event. I remember the first time I went to his event, UPW, in 2017. The first thing that impressed me very much was the music, because it was so intense, so inducing a state of joy and empowerment. And throughout the 4 days of the event, the music was for me a key factor and a key component of the impact that the course had on me, and I suppose to many other people. And even now, I still have, that Spotify playlist, and I listen to it from time to time when I want to feel great, when I want to feel good. It boosts my energy and my state, as you said, very quickly. Um, can you tell me? I really understand and what you said about the lyrics influencing your thoughts, the music influencing your feelings, and that in combination is very powerful. Uh, is there any science to back that up? It makes common sense, but is there scientific proof that this is the case, or is it just a matter of art as a form of art?
I think the science is catching up now, yes. And one thing I will say, I'm not very au fait with all the latest research. I haven't really delved into all the latest research, but I think more and more science is coming out there. I was listening to a podcast interview the other day where they were talking about music, and they were talking about how it affects the different parts of the brain. Music is very much a whole brain thing. So the left brain would be our language, so the lyrics side of things. So it's really activating those. And this is an issue. I might be deviating slightly, sorry, Aggie, but if you think about some people, they might do affirmations. Now, if you're going to read out an affirmation, every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better, there's no emotion there, there's no intensity. So just having the words isn't necessarily going to be enough. It's the same when we write gratitude, isn't it? We can write the gratitude things, but we still don't feel grateful for things. So that combined with the melody is more of a right brain thing. So the melody is more to do with the creativity, the intuition, and we can really get lost in that and that, get that real visualization process. So the two go really well hand in hand. And there is science. Again, I couldn't necessarily quote particular articles or anything like that, but there is science that's really starting to look at the positive effects of music. A lot of, you get sound therapists, and they've actually been around. Sound therapy, apparently, I think it's been around since one of the wars, I think. So one of the world wars, I think it was. So, these kind of things, use of sound, use of music has actually been around a long time, and people definitely do get benefits from it.
Does it have, does the volume of the music, because you mentioned reading and information in a very, in a tone that really doesn't affirm anything, certainly not what you were saying. Do you think that when it's loud, it has a deeper impact on you?
I think so. Yes, I think so. So what I like to do is if I use music as part of my morning routine, which I often do, because again, I don't always feel like I want to get up out of bed, but I put some music on to change my state. And often what I would like to do is use earphones for that, because I find it sort of cuts out that outside sound, and put it on reasonably loud. I think it does make a bit of a difference. What you want to really do is immerse yourself, which I'm sure was that experience that you had at UPW, Aggie, where you're just immersed. And obviously you've got all the other people around there as well, creating that energy. But I use music, for example, to visualize. So, a while ago, I was really focusing on me visualizing being an international speaker in front of thousands of people on stage. And again, if you get that music going to get you in that state, I find it can really help your visualizations, and you really start to feel like you're there. If you didn't use music, or it was a bit quieter, and maybe you can hear the kettle being boiled and you can hear your children crying, or whatever it is, I don't think it has the same effect. So I like to really immerse myself in it.
Awesome. And I'll go a little bit into some details that might not. Anyway, my question is, I'll skip the prologue of it. You know that there are some certain frequencies, sound frequencies, that it's been said that have a direct effect in inducing brain states like theta or. So do you think that specific frequencies, and tell me if you use that in your music as well, to induce those states and be able to go deeper inside the subconscious?
Good question. Yes, I haven't yet. So I'm aware of them. Again, I haven't delved too much into that myself. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's certain frequencies that claim to do certain things. I don't know, again, how much research there is on that. There's different, about the chakras of the body. They're all are set at different frequencies. Something I've definitely used before, I haven't, although I can create it myself, but I haven't actually created it, is the brainwave entrainment, things like, and I've forgotten the name of it now. What is it called? Isochronic tones and binaural beats. So isochronic tones and binaural beats. And what they do, I found this really good for meditation. Have you ever come across it, Aggie?
Yes, I have the binaural beats. I know about it. The isochronic tones, I've heard about it. I don't really know much about it.
Very similar, but yeah, basically what they supposedly do is they set a kind of beat, if you like, and your brain supposedly mimics that beat. So as the isochronic tones or the binaural beats get lower and lower or less and less in frequency, so they're slowing down, supposedly your brain waves will slow down, so you're going more into a meditative state. Now, for me, again, I think that there is research on it. For me, again, I've used that and I've enjoyed the use of that. I have found that it has helped me, and I do just like music as well as part of that. I do use relaxing music, sometimes just before I go to bed at night, other times to meditate. It certainly can be powerful. Something that I'm going to be getting into more as I start to create more courses myself. I'm not just going to be writing traditional music, songs, pop songs, rock songs that have the lyrics, but I'm creating more music for specific activities. So, for example, tonight I'm speaking and I'm going to take people through an actual task where the music, that we're taking them through a visualization. We get them to think about certain times where they felt joy or gratitude, and the music will change at certain points. And then I'm going to get them to, project those feelings into the future. But it's all based around the structure of the music. So there's no lyrics, there's no vocals. It's all based around the music. So once again, I'm using that music to create the kind of states that I want. I am aware of the different frequencies, but haven't sort of delved into them too much.
So, do you want to tell me? I'm really intrigued to find out about the music albums that you recently released, the empowerment songs. So, do you want to explain that to me? What is it? What do they do? How do they work? And what it is about?
Thank you. Well, 2 years ago now, I had the idea of creating an album of empowerment songs. So songs all dedicated to personal development, looking at different aspects of personal development. You are good enough and gratitude and all those different concepts of personal development. So I decided that I wanted to be the songwriter, and I wanted to have other people, other musicians, other people using their gifts so that together we can create something that's, really, really good. So I started off that process, and what it ended up, to cut a long story short, what it ended up with being is 3 albums. So there's 31 songs. I've got over 20 contributors from around the world actually contributing to that. And that got released in August 2020. And it's a variety of different genres. So again, music to suit different moods. So there's some ballads on there, there's some pop stuff, there's some rock stuff, there's a sort of country sounding song, there's various genres, but all got those personal development themes. So the idea is really the album can be used in a couple of ways. One, you can just listen to it. It's just music. You put it on in the background, and the feedback that I've gained so far is people who are enjoying it. It's making them feel good. It is inspiring them. Some people are using it as part of their morning routine.
Yes.
Or you can use the music more specifically. So, for example, if I think of a couple of the tracks I might use in my morning routine, I have a song called Today Is My Life. And the concept behind that is today counts. Every second counts. So if I'm waking up and I really can't be bothered to do much today, I put that song on, Today Is My Life, okay? And it starts to focus my mind. I've got another song on gratitude. So again, if I'm writing out, my gratitude list, I might put that on just to help complement what I'm actually doing. And I might listen to those lyrics, just like, again, I would read a motivational quote or listen to a motivational speech, and it helps to actually focus my mind and really get me to think about those concepts. So it can be something that's just played in the background or something that's used alongside other personal development activities or tools.
What about music for specifically for visualization? Because you mentioned that earlier, and I have also a personal interest in that because so far I haven't found anything that can trigger my, let's say, my visualization ability and enhance it. So, what's your thoughts of that? Do you have something specifically for that?
Yes, good question. Again, I've followed various visualizations before. I remember following like Lisa Nichols visualizations. I now can't remember actually whether she had music or not on them. But for me, and not everyone might be the same, but for me, generally, if I have some form of music, as long as it's the right type of music, it can help me. I sort of tend to find if I'm just listening to something like a guided visualization, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no background music, again, for me it just seems a little bit dead. Whereas if it's the right kind of music, again, I'm just getting a little bit more into it, if you like. So yeah, I've sort of found, I mean, I remember again on another course doing a visualization, very similar to what I explained I'm going to be doing in my talk today,
Mm-hmm.
which basically involves people thinking about those different emotions, thinking about times in their life where they felt certain things, and then sort of stepping into a ring of light and, really embracing those feelings. And that particularly for me was really powerful. I mean, I remember at the end of that, I had tears rolling down my eyes. So it obviously impacted me emotionally. And I think with that, I think what you can do with music is you can either use it to again focus on the positives, the positive, the goals you want to achieve, the positive emotions that you've had and will have. Or you can also sometimes use it to really focus on those negative times as well, because music evokes emotions. So sometimes, sad music can actually help you go into those areas of your life that you don't really want to go into as well. It can actually, I think, it can just open up your mind and open up your heart a little bit to actually feel a little bit. And sometimes we need to feel those negative emotions and we need to explore them a little bit. And I think music can help to do that as well. So I think it can be the previous traumas through to the goals that we want to achieve. Personally, I mean, I'd say to listeners, go out and try it. Go out and
Mm-hmm.
try it. But personally, I think if you get the right kind of music, I think it can create a greater intensity of feeling. And as we know for visualization, it's not just about what, but it's the feeling, it's the emotions that's really important.
What you just said now reminded me, it brought me back to my teenage years or my 20s when, for example, I would be heartbroken and I would play songs that would enhance that. So I would really be in tears, being really even worse feeling than before. So, in a way, I appreciate what you're telling me that I was going deeper and exploring the feeling. On the other hand, sometimes that may be completely unnecessary, and instead of putting sad songs and going deeper into that, play some happy music and change your state if you feel like it's unnecessary to to go deeper into by listening to those heartbreaking ballads and all those things which
That's it. You've got to be careful with it. I mean, just a couple of quick stories, if I may. I
yes.
remember someone saying to me a little while ago that her husband had actually noticed that when she was going through a spell of depression, she was listening to depressing
Yeah.
where the music sounded depressing or the lyrics were
Hmm.
depressing.
Hmm.
Might be a little bit of a chicken and the egg sort of thing. Is it the
Yes.
fact she's gone into the depression that she craves those songs, or is it that she's been listening to those songs that has created the depression? But that was definitely something he noticed. And the other thing I was going to say, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, something within, for example, the songs in empowerment tunes. Something I want to point out is they're not all positive lyrics. They're not all fairy tale lyrics about everything is good and everything is wonderful. Often the lyrics actually contain a bit of a hero's journey. And actually, funnily enough, one of the songs is called Hero's Journey. They are about getting over your challenges, and knowing that life is full of challenges, but you can get through them and you can be resilient. So I just want to point that out, that I think that's a bit of an issue for any listeners thinking that they have to feel positive all the time. No, those negative emotions are part of life. We need to understand them. They can be signposts indicating certain things in our life. And yes, sometimes we can use music to get us into those lower states if we want to, but we've got to be very careful that we're not doing it, just getting into that habit of feeling bad and listening to depressing songs.
Absolutely. James, there is, I'm going to change the subject for a moment. There is something I wanted to ask you, because you are a speaker, an international speaker, and you have spoken in fairly big audiences. So my question is, because you said that you used to be a lecturer at university, so you had experience of speaking in front of people. So when you had your transformation, you started being on stage, that was not something completely new to you. But I wanted to ask, how is it different to be a professor speaking in front of students, doing a lecture, and being at an event, on a stage at an event? Both of them is public speaking, but what's your what do you think is the difference from your point of view?
What a great question. Well, for me, the interesting thing is I've done a lot of years actually working at a college where we have university-based courses. So I've taught a lot on those, and I've also taught college-based courses. So the university-based courses are for ages 18 plus, and the college courses, typically they're between 16 and 18. Okay. Now, there is generally a difference in terms of the attitude of the students between the college and the university. So the 16-year-old students, despite the fact that they've obviously chosen to be on that course, they don't always indicate that when they're in class. So you get a lot of behavioural issues. So it is a bit more like a teacher in a school, where often you're managing the behaviour rather than, really properly teaching them, if you know what I mean. The university students, it's a bit different. The behavior isn't so much of an issue, so you can teach them a lot more effectively, or educate them a lot more effectively. So that's probably a bit closer to what it's like doing public speaking. Public speaking, again, I think it totally depends upon the environment. Everyone, or no, not everyone, the majority of people who go along and see Tony Robbins are there because they want to be there. Some people have just been dragged along.
They've been dragged, yes.
But I think it very much, if you've got an audience that want to be there, it's a total different experience to when you've got an audience who don't necessarily want to be there. And I really found this, in actual fact, like you say, I've got a background in lecturing, so I can stand up in front of an audience and I can speak, I can lecture. I'm okay with that. But one of the courses I did was a train the trainer type course, and I got an opportunity to actually be on stage and take part of that course, just a small part of that course. And again, I gave it my all, and I did everything. And at the end of that, this is another little story. At the end of that, the instructor on the course just started to interview me on stage. And through that conversation, I don't remember all the conversation, but through the conversation, he obviously asked me some questions which were triggering certain things. And I had this mission, I had this vision, but there was still some limiting beliefs and some doubts and some fears. And he picked up on this. And he said to me, so, what are you going to do about it? And I remember walking to the front of the stage, and I remember sort of pointing downwards, putting a lot of effort into it. And I said, from now on, I am playing big. And the place just erupted, because, again, the audience were there for me. That's what they were there for. They could really relate to it. It resonated with them. And big standing ovation, and I'm just sort of standing out with my arms out. And this seemed to go on for an eternity, and I've got tears streaming down my eyes. And when it eventually sort of died down, the instructor said, so, James, you're obviously crying a bit. I'm interested, how many people in the audience have also got tears coming out of their eyes? And, I think it was probably about half the audience, could have been more, I can't remember, but a lot of people. And that was interesting for me because I thought, wow, it's not as though I've just taken the 5-day course. I've only just taken part of it. But through me being vulnerable, being honest, and through the audience resonating with me, I've somehow made an impact on them. But it's actually come back to me as well. That's why I believe it's always that win-win, that two-way process. If I can inspire people and they tell me about how I'm helping them, that comes back to me. And it was either a day or 2 days afterwards, I was just about to go back into the course after break, and a lady approached me and said, "Oh, James, I'm so glad I found you. I've been looking for you last day or so. When you're on stage, it really kind of touched me. It really resonated with me, what you said and what you did. I've been telling all my friends about you. Can I have a selfie taken with you?" I felt like a celebrity. But again, do you know what? That's something I remember, because once again, if I'm feeling low or I'm feeling down, I think, right, come on, let's get out there. Let's make a positive impact on people's lives. And when I make a positive impact, when I'm authentic, when I'm vulnerable, when I'm honest, when I'm making an impact, it will come back to me as well. I'm helping other people and it will come back to me. So, that's one of those other stories that has been really good. But once again, that's the difference between lecturing or sometimes being in a school and being in that course where everyone wants to be there and is ready to learn and motivated to do so.
James, thank you. That's fascinating. I can relate really with the public speaking, because I think it is one of the most important stepping stones in one's journey. It certainly was for mine. It changed me completely as a person. So it's beautiful to listen to experiences like that and emotional things being shared. James, let me ask you some quick fire questions as well to start wrapping things up. We talked about personal development, but I want you to tell me in a nutshell, what does it mean for you, the term personal development?
Yes, so obviously it is developing yourself. And I think for me, with the majority of us, what we attempt to do is strip back and get away from all the resistance that we've got. So personal development really is probably about us trying to get as close to our true, real selves as possible by getting rid of those fears, getting rid of those limiting beliefs and all that little voice in our head, to be left with, what we are, which is spirit, really. So, yeah, that's what I'd say it is.
Fascinating answer. Thank you. And let's say you could go back in time, meet your 18-year-old James. What would you say to him? What one piece of advice would you give him?
I might just steal 2 pieces of advice, actually, and they go hand in hand. One is 3 words. 4 words. 4 words. You are good enough. Okay. 3 words, you are enough, or 4 words, you are good enough. Either one works, because the majority of people out there do not feel that they are enough. So I would tell myself, you are enough. And the other piece of advice I would give that goes hand in hand with this is use your gifts. Follow your heart, use your gifts. You are good enough to do that.
Amazing. Thank you. And James, if you could wave a magic wand and change something in the world as it is today, what would you change?
Well, there's the obvious answers, of course, like, world hunger and, getting rid of all the wars, which are, great answers. But in terms of the personal development thing, again, I think it would be very similar to what I would tell my 18-year-old self. It would be, if there was a world where everyone knew that they were enough and gave themselves permission to use their gifts. The way I see it is, we're all a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle. So you are a certain piece of the jigsaw puzzle, Aggie, and that's your gift. If you put your piece of the jigsaw puzzle into the wrong place, it can kind of fit, but it doesn't quite work. If you get it into the right place, So by using your gift and fulfilling your purpose, then guess what? It allows the other pieces, the other people to fit in their pieces around you. And together you create a beautiful jigsaw and a beautiful picture. So imagine a world where everyone is doing what they should be doing. They're using their gifts. They're feeling good about it. How amazing would that be?
I certainly hope that we are heading towards a world like that and not the complete opposite of it that is kind of been projected upon us as doom and glooms. But what you're telling me, it's a beautiful way to describe it with the jigsaw puzzle. So it's so appropriate. We each have our own unique superpower, if you want, or our purpose that is something completely ours, our song. And you said that question that changed your life, that if you were to die today, would you have lived a fulfilled life? And there's no other way to live a fulfilled life, except, that's my opinion, except by doing what you're really meant to be doing. Anything else, yes, you might achieve what people perceive as success, or you might get money or anything else. But if inside your heart you don't feel the fulfillment, it's it's really not success at all. What does success
Absolutely.
mean to you, by the way?
Success means to me being the person that you were born to be. So, that basically means, again, using your gifts, being true to yourself, and I do believe that everyone is born to love each other as well, so that for me is success. It isn't getting a specific job or achieving a certain goal. It's being that person that you were designed to be, because like you said, only then can you be fulfilled. And what you have to bear in mind is, when you are fulfilled, just like I said with that jigsaw puzzle, it has a knock-on effect to the other people you're around, and it has that ripple effect. If you're not fulfilled, you're not showing up best in the world, and that will have more of a negative effect on the people around you as well.
Thank you. James, out of all this conversation we've had today, if you were to give to the listener one actionable item, something to take away and implement starting today, what would you tell them?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's keep it simple. So I would urge any of the listeners, give music a little go. It could be tomorrow in your morning routine. You just put on one of your favorite tracks. It could be, I don't know, it could be that you want to have a look at my empowerment songs albums, or you want to use visualization with music, whatever it is. Give it a little go and see if it can change your state. Perfect example, yesterday, I was a little bit frustrated with something. I kind of took it out on my daughter a little bit. I apologize for that. But one thing I did, I went upstairs and I put on some music. It changed my state. So give it a go. Play some music and see if it benefits you somehow.
Fantastic. James, how can people connect with you, find out more? Where would you direct them?
Thank you. So you can basically search for James Dand or Inner Anthem on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel on Facebook. I'm quite active on other places like LinkedIn. So James Dand or Inner Anthem. My website is inneranthem.com. I've got a free video course there about the use of music. So if you found this interesting, you want to find out a little bit more, you can just go to my homepage and scroll down, and you'll see there's a free video course there that you can access and find out a little bit more about how I use music in my life and how you may want to as well.
James, is there anything you were hoping I would ask you today and I completely missed it?
No, I don't think there is, actually. I think it's been, as I had hoped, I think it's been a really, certainly for me, been a really interesting conversation. We've explored some great areas. And no, so I just really want to say thank you ever so much. I genuinely do believe that, you've got an amazing podcast. The episodes I've listened to, you just managed to get so much good information and value from the people you're interviewing. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much, James. You said I really appreciate it. And when I have someone I interview tell me that they are a listener of the podcast as well, then that makes me twice as happy. It's because there is a deeper connection and appreciation for each other's work, which is really important. I want to wish you all the very best with your fulfillment in life and really helping people transform their lives through music. It's amazing. I can relate, and I really appreciate you for doing that. So all the very best. Any parting words?
Go out there. Thank you, Aggie. Go out there and find out what your gift is, and go and use it and share it with the world. Don't keep it. I could be a songwriter just writing music for myself, but what would be the point of that? Share your gift with the world, and you're going to help other people.
Thank you for listening. Please take a moment to subscribe and review Personal Development Mastery on Apple Podcasts, and also share this podcast with someone who you think will benefit from it. If you want to gain access to exclusive content while supporting this podcast, then become my patron. The link is in the show notes, or you can type bit.ly/pdmpat. If you want to know more about what I do and how I can help you, or if you have any questions, join my Facebook group Personal Development Mastery. Again, the link is in the show notes, or you can simply type bit.ly/pdmgroup. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in.